day 9 of the shutdown. Things are getting a little testy, a little feisty up on the Hill. Republican Representative Mike Lawler approached House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, both from New York, about a short-term extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies.
The exchange between the two New York congressmen quickly escalated. Take a listen.
We got a 1-year extension. Why don't we sign on right now?
Let me ask you a question. Did you get permission from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald Trump?
You can easily extend the ACA right now.
Did your boss, Donald Trump, give you permission?
He's not my boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
so let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to shut the government down?
The repeated jabs lasted for more than 6 minutes, with the lawmakers heatedly talking over one another. Meantime, in another corner of the Capitol, Arizona's Democratic senators staged a surprise press conference outside House Speaker Mike Johnson's office.
Yeah, we're talking Senators Mark Kelly and Ruben Gallego. They both spoke about health care and the delayed swearing in of their state's Congressmember-elect Adelita Grijalva. Gallego accused Johnson of wanting to cover up for pedophiles on the Epstein list. Grijalva would be the final signature needed on a discharge petition to force a vote on releasing the Epstein files. The Arizona Democrats answered reporter questions, and then several minutes later, Johnson came out of the office, surprising those senators and joining the gaggle. Senators were busy yesterday voting on 2 separate bills that would end the shutdown. Here's what happened on the Senate floor.
On this vote, the yeas are 54, the nays are 45. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative. The motion upon reconsideration is not agreed to.
All right, we are entering day 9. Day 9 of the government gridlock. The Senate held a 6th failed vote on a bill that would fund the government through late November.
Yeah, so we just saw there, Drew, a lot of political theater going on. Safe to say, things not going too well on the Hill these days. Where do we stand?
Well, lawmakers are now literally talking past each other. That's exactly what we saw. It's not exactly a sign of bipartisan negotiations to end the shutdown. On one side, you have Democrats. They accuse Republicans of wanting to cut people's health care, also covering up for Jeffrey Epstein, which has been a very politically charged issue here on Capitol Hill. On the other side, Republicans accusing Democrats of holding the government hostage, refusing to come back and vote for what they say is a clean bill to reopen the government, and then begin negotiations on all these other issues. And look, some key dates coming up next week regarding pay for members of the military, and then it just gets further and further down the road where we have other federal government workers that won't be getting their paychecks.
And not just that, we have problems at the airports because there aren't enough air traffic controllers. We saw delays even at Reagan National yesterday. 35,000, I think, IRS people were sent home because they're now furloughed, and that means that tax extensions can't be filed and things are going to back up. So it's really starting to affect more people.
We talked about this from the beginning. The length of the shutdown is really going to go a long way to tell how much pain is going to be felt by it. And each week that passes by, more people at risk, eventually the economy more broadly. But I saw a really telling statistic this morning. 1 in 3 members of the military has less than $3,000 in savings. For those people, missing a paycheck is going to be the most painful. Now, the president said last weekend that he was going to make sure people were whole, that people were going to get paid, but there's some disagreement inside the Republican Party on a mechanism to make that happen. Speaker Johnson initially said that he was willing to bring lawmakers back next week to vote on a standalone bill to pay members of the military. Now walking that back, saying it's unnecessary. The president hinted that maybe he would support something like that. So just the level of confusion and worry that will be setting in over the next week for members of the military and then other members of the federal government going forward is going to really put pressure on lawmakers. The question is, who feels that pressure most? And if both sides kind of think they're right and think they're winning among their constituents, what happens then?
Guys, do me a favor. Go ahead and throw up that pay schedule graphic again, because it's not just military members that are looking at potentially missing their paycheck. As you see there, October 15th is the next payday for those military service members. From the 10th to the 15th, partial checks are going to go out for more civilian workers, but really the rubber meets the road later on in the month. On October 24th, you have DOD employees, HHS employees, other federal agency employees are going to miss their first paycheck. And then October 28th, that's the one that's on my calendar circled. That is the day where a majority of all federal workers miss their paycheck. When it comes to the military getting paid, we are seeing some mixed messages. You know, as you mentioned, Mike Johnson said there's no need to do this. The president said they're going to get paid. How difficult does that make negotiations then when you have the White House, House Republicans saying, hey, come back. No, you don't need to come back. We'll figure this out. And Democrats are saying, well, we're here. We're ready to go.
Well, you'd need, if you're going to do anything other than the CR that's already passed the House, you're going to need the members of the House to come back. Now, so far, they are scheduled to come back next week. So if there are any kind of new bills or changes, they would sensibly be here to make those votes. But yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately for federal workers and members of the military, they're kind of stuck in this stalemate right now, watching this happen. And that calendar that you put up there really just exemplifies how things get worse and worse the longer the shutdown goes.
In the meantime, Democrats are hoping that the Republicans will cave on health care and that they can come to some sort of a negotiation. And the Republicans are hoping to pick up some Democrats, particularly in vulnerable districts, Democrats who are moderates or Democrats who may be up for an election next year. So those are probably the guys, Drew, they're going to focus on.
They're going to focus on them too, but there's also a lot of pressure on Senate Democrats to hold the line. You have activist groups going as far as saying that even some sort of a handshake agreement to open the government in exchange for taking on these ACA subsidies is a capitulation. So the Minority Leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, has said it has to be ironclad in this legislation. Activist groups are applying pressure on Democrats in the Senate to hold the line and not reopen the government unless they can get that written into legislation. Republicans say that's a red line, that they're never going to they're never going to agree to extend these subsidies to, in exchange for the hostages that they say Democrats are holding on this. So right now there's just a lot of pressure, but it's not just being applied from one side.
Let's listen to some local lawmakers. We have Congressman Glenn Ivey talking about how public opinion on health care may push Republicans to come back and figure that issue out. And then after that soundbite, we'll hear from April McLean Delaney. She's talking about this threat of not paying furloughed workers back pay.
The Republicans they may not move until they start hearing from the public. And I think when the public starts getting those notices that their premiums and rates are about to go up, in some instances doubling and tripling, and they may not even be able to afford it at all and might have to drop health care entirely, I think that'll make the needle move with respect to the Republicans and bring them to the table.
It's ironic that the president says this because he actually signed the law in 2019 that actually gave workers the ability to get back pay and actually touted it on social media.
We've said all along that those ACA subsidies, if you squint, you see that's where the off-ramp is. But the question is, how do they get to that negotiation when you have one side saying you have to end the shutdown first, and the other side saying we're not going to pass that legislation, we're not going to end the shutdown until you consider the ACA subsidies.
All righty, Drew. Thank you so much. We will see you in a little while.